Hello everybody, welcome back to Fanblade. It's been a while, I know. Seems like every video I do these days starts with the line, "It's been a few months since my last video." Well, it has been, because I've been busy. I've done an album, and there's a link in the description. I've done another album, and there's a link up here somewhere. There's been projects on the go, and also there's been not a lot of parts coming in. Getting things in New Zealand has been a little bit hard recently. But you've seen the thumbnail, you know what's here. Here it is. It's a giant yellow box. I haven't been into this yet, I don't know what's here. I've got a fair idea of what I've paid for, but we'll see what sort of state it's in. And then, once we've got it open and we've taken a look, I will tell you why I've bought it and what I'm going to do with it. Oh, polystyrene, my old friend. We've got goodies. What have we got? We've got a bag of stuff. Allen keys either just fallen out or maybe it was always there. We've got 2 picks. Ha! That's funny considering what we've got here. 2 picks, 2 Allen keys, and a length of clothesline. Fantastic. I hate polystyrene. Okay, so this is what I've decided in a moment of absolute madness to purchase. It's a 6-string fretless. It was cheap. I'm not talking affordable, I'm talking it was dirt cheap. This thing was $129 Kiwi. That's like $65 US. Straight out of AliExpress, and I am sad to report that, or possibly glad actually, to report that there are none left. You can't buy these. So this is not an advert for it. This is going to be a sort of a tear down and a make it good kind of a thing. It's not quite as light as I would expect it. There is some weight in the body. I suspect that it'll be nicely balanced. It is modelled off a Court Kerbo type body shape, which is a base that I happen to particularly love, because I spent about 4 years with this one. This one's strapped to me. You can see there's been an attempt at getting the body contouring around there. They call that a German carve, where it sort of goes in and then up at the top. But they've totally overdone it there. That almost comes to a sharp point. I think the body shape is... yeah, it's pretty accurate. Pretty accurate, maybe a little bit wider, but, you know, 6 strings, obviously they're going to make things a bit wider. But I love this bass. This bass just fits me like a glove. Just everything about it, the sound and the feel of it and the weight of it, and just the way it sits and balances, the way it looks. I love these basses. I love this bass so much that when the preamp died, I didn't buy a new preamp. I bought the 5-string version. So now, when I was presented with the opportunity to own a 6-string fretless for next to nothing. I mean, honestly, it cost me more money to fill up my car with petrol than it does to buy this bass. It's ridiculous. Obviously, at that price point, it's going to have some issues. The nut is wood. It's got a wooden nut in it. Okay. Pickups depressed on one side. There's a few sort of scratches. I mean, no one's done any quality control on this, and for the price I wouldn't expect them to either. I was not expecting much. I am not expecting it to work when I plug it in. I've got to put a battery in it. There's a preamp in here, believe it or not. So that's pretty much the first thing. If I can get a sound out of this thing and play a tune on it straight out of the box, then I will be impressed. Okay, so the battery cover doesn't fit properly. Okay, if I try and jam that on any harder, I'm just going to break it. That was always going to break off. We will be getting a new one of these, he said, optimistically. Plugged into the long-suffering PV Blazer. There's no buzzing. That's a good start. Let's see if we get anything out of it at all. Everything's up. There's no volume. Amp is... okay. Where do you start? Let's level this pickup because that's been pressed in. Oh! Right. Not bottoming out. Neck seems to be straight. Fingerboard is not sealed with anything, and it appears to be made of balsa. Interesting. That's alright. I've got plans for that. What do these controls do? Main volume. Probably a bass control, but we can't really tell on this amp. This might be a mid control. That's a nothing control. That's also a nothing control. Interesting. I have no idea what that's doing. It's just bizarre. It goes... it's like a pickup select, like that's in the middle, that's like a pickup selector knob. There is an indent there, and no volume. And then you can wire in, dial in some bass, go all the way the other way. Exactly the same sound. So, I need to look inside that and see what's going on. Interesting. What we've got is a mess. Okay. It's a preamp. We've got volume. Yeah, bass, mid and treble, not that you'd know. We've got an output jack. Looks to be fairly high quality output jack, actually. We've got a pickup blend knob. That's fine if you've got two pickups, but they must have the different coils wired to that. Okay. Yes, that's kind of interesting. What's that? There's a random piece of metal just floating around in there. That's probably not going to do too much good. That's just floating around in there. That's okay. Right, well, it is what it is. As I said, I was not expecting much. Really not expecting all this. Looks fairly standard, looks fairly like the wiring you get on most of these, except it's a bit dirty. Okay, I'm going to tune it up, and we'll see what the neck does, if I need to adjust anything, and then I'm going to take it next door, plug it into my actual bass amp, and we'll see if I can get a tune out of it. Oh, there are no dot markers. There are no position markers anywhere. Right. So getting a tune and being in tune is going to be interesting. There's a... ooh, this is no good. There's a big gap in here you can see where they've glued the fingerboard on. Yeah. Yeah, so that's there. The action's as high as you might expect it to be. I will give the truss rod a little bit of a crank, and that should straighten the neck out and bring the action down a little bit. I'm not sure how much relief I've got in the bridge, whether those saddles have room to come down. I may need to do some filing or some shimming, or possibly both. Yes. Well, the good news is the truss rod works. That's looking pretty good, actually. Got a bit of moire to it. Okay, I'm going to take this through next door and see how she goes in a track. Okay, so here is what we've learned. The output is very, very low, and that is most likely because both sides of this humbucking pickup, both coils, were wired to either side of the pickup blend knob, so you're only ever listening to half of the pickup at a time. Going to take the wires off the selecting knob, join the two coils together, and then stick all of that straight onto the volume, so this will cease to be of any use. Just like the EQ knobs were pretty much of no use, I couldn't get anything out of them, and I don't know if that's because they're rubbish or because of the low output in general. So we'll find out. No noise though, no hiss. Again, might be a different story once we raise that output a bit, but not too bad. The other option is that I can get an EMG 6-string pickup, which is passive, so no battery required, so I don't have to replace the battery compartment, and I just need a volume and a tone. Every fretless bass that I've ever had has been a fretted bass that's been converted. So I've always had lines to mark my finger positions so I could play and tune. Maybe I should leave this unlined and just go for some side dot markers, because there's nothing at the moment. I've got nothing to go on. It doesn't even tell you where the 12th fret is. Well, the halfway point. It doesn't even tell you anything. You've got nothing to go on. So I'll have to do something about that. But I've also got a couple of other ideas about that. Now, the other thing I don't like is this carve around the edge here that's too extreme. This is the original, and you can see the German carve is very, very subtle just around the horn, and then it kind of tapers out to the point where it's perfectly flat. The bit where you have your hand is perfectly smooth all the way to the edge of the instrument. That's not. You've got a sharp edge there, and to make matters worse, another sharp edge right down there. So that's actually quite uncomfortable to play. And just as luck would have it, I'm not very fond of the red on this, so there's room to do things to the body, do things to the electronics, do things to the neck, and hopefully I get an instrument that's, relatively kick-ass for the price. Step one will be switching around these electronics and see if I can get a decent signal out of it, and then we will go from there. Okay, so that's made absolutely no difference. The only thing now is that knob doesn't work. Go figure. So the options are, it's either the preamp that's bad, with the EQ being the way it is, it's a very real possibility. The way I'm going to test that is simply take the preamp out of the circuit and try the pickup by itself. The pickup that I'm intending to replace this with, if I need to, is passive anyway, so there will be no preamp required, and it's getting in the way, so I'm going to rip all of that out, put the battery just across the pickup and straight to the output. If that's a boost in volume, then I will probably wire the volume knob into the switch so I've got some control. If that doesn't work, then full replacement pickup and everything else. So, let's rip that apart. Yeah, I can turn that down now. Oh, that sounds so much better. Well, there it is. For better or for worse, it is a musical instrument. Depends on your definition of the word musical. I don't have perfect pitch, so I apologize if that was a little bit out of tune and there's no indication of where you are playing. So I was really just going by instinct and what little sort of fretless technique that I have. So, it is what it is, but it could be so much more. There's two main areas of improvement that I need to work on for this bass. There is the body and the neck. Funnily enough, the body is going to require a little bit of work, not too much actually. I just got to fill these holes, then I'm going to contour the top, put some arm relief in there, scuff up the paint that's there, undercoat it, and then I don't know if I'm going to try and mimic the finish that's on the 5-string version of this, or if I'm going to do something that I've always wanted to try, but I've never had the guts to do it. This bass is a perfect candidate for swirl dipping. Dipping it in a bucket of water with a whole lot of paint floating on top, and you get a crazy swirly pattern. I've always wanted to try it. I reckon now's the time. If you have any comments or suggestions about how I might accomplish that with the minimum of fuss, then by all means let me know in the comments. For the neck, now this is where the mad scientist comes in. I think what I'm going to have, at the very least, I'm going to have to put in side dot markers so that I can see where my positions are. I'm so used to having lines that I'm almost tempted to put lines in. But if I'm going to go to the hassle of measuring out all the positions and then cutting slots, I may as well fret the thing as well. However, that would then negate the idea of having a 6-string fretless. So, my plan is, and again, let me know in the comments if you think this is going to work, I'm going to partially fret it. I'm thinking 7 frets, possibly 9. I'm thinking if I go to the 7th fret, then that effectively gives me almost the entire range of a 5-string with frets, and if that's a B to an E to an F sharp, not quite the full range of a fretless 4-string as well. So it seems to me to be a kind of an interesting idea. I'd love to try it out, and yes, we will see what happens, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime though, Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for subscribing. Let me know about what you think about all of that in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.